All right. Thank you guys for joining us this morning. We hope you guys had a fabulous spring break, and thank you for taking some time out of your day to come learn with us. Today, we're going to be talking about Seesaw and Adobe Spark and how you can use them currently in this distance learning environment that we're in, but also how you can use them in the future in your classrooms.
So just before we begin, I just wanted to go over some basic housekeeping for the webinar. There's a chat button where we've all been introducing ourselves, saying good morning. There's also a Q&A section. So if you have any questions that come up, please go ahead and click the Q&A section and type those questions in, and we will answer all of them during our question and answer session right after this virtual PD. And then when it's time to exit, there's also an exit meeting button. But if you accidentally hit that exit meeting button, then you can go ahead and just re-enter back into this meeting.
All right, so today we are going to be, first we're going to hit Seesaw, and we're going to talk about what it is. We're going to talk about how to create a Seesaw account. We're also going to kind of go over some of the basic navigation of Seesaw, and then we're going to dive into Adobe Spark and how to log into it, and some of the options that you have of things that you can create and things that your students can create within Adobe Spark.
So Seesaw. Seesaw is a wonderful platform for student engagement. It's actually also free for teachers. Seesaw allows teachers to post different assignments, pull activities. It allows students to create images, to do voiceovers, to annotate and dictate on different pictures, and allows them to work together. It also allows students to see everybody's work as well. So you can share each other's work, you can see what your classmates are doing, you can take pictures. There's also an integration for parent interaction within Seesaw as well.
So just kind of a brief overview. So Seesaw teachers can design and facilitate learning experiences and lessons within Seesaw. Students can create, they can reflect, they can collaborate, and then they can make their learning visible. And then there's a family component, like Sitara said, where families can actively support and celebrate student learning throughout the year as they're using Seesaw.
And then here's a quick 1-minute video, just all about Seesaw. So it just shows you just what teachers and students can actually do with Seesaw. So this video is showing you that a teacher is using them with Chromebooks in her class. Her students are watching a video. They're able to create. So this is a student's work right here where they're putting in arrows, they're putting in pictures. They took a picture from when she actually went to the beach, and then she's putting in all the pictures and the words to go along with it. Then here's another student example of where this student was able to take a picture of an article and he's able to annotate it. What you can't hear is he actually did a voiceover on this where he's explaining what he's underlining and explaining why it's imagery. So he's able to not only put different words and underline, but also explain. And then here's another student example of where she's doing math. And if we were to play the video with sound, you could hear her working out the problem. And she says here that, oh, I can even reduce this further. And so as a teacher, you're able to gain a lot of that insight from the students themselves with them just working with the actual tool.
Okay, so like we mentioned before, so Seesaw is great for students, it's great for teachers, and it's great for parents. So it works on any device. So it can work on a Chromebook, it can work on an iPad, it can work on a desktop, it can work on a smartphone, it works on anything. Like we mentioned before, it's free for teachers to use. So it would start with teachers finding and creating activities to share with their students, which we're going to talk about in a minute, where you can either create your own lessons or you can find some pre-made lessons already. And then students, once those lessons are assigned in Seesaw, they can take pictures, they can draw, they can record video, they can do voiceovers like we mentioned, and they can capture learning in it's kind of like a portfolio kind of setup. And then if you have the families connect with the students in Seesaw, they can see their child's work, they can leave comments, they can leave encouragement. So it really pulls in the families and it pulls in the parents into what they are seeing their students working on, and they can actually get a little glimpse into the classroom of what's going on and the things that their students are doing.
So when we're looking at Seesaw in the classroom, teachers can use the class app from their phones or their different devices to manage student works and also send messages to different family members. So if you've ever used Class Dojo, it's sort of like that, but a little different, that the parents can actually interact and they can see the actual pictures that the students are taking in class. They can see the work. Students who use the class app can complete the assigned work, and then families can communicate with their teacher through it. They can see everything. They can also like talk to their student at home about what they did, because now they're able to interact and see, oh, well, you learned about the rainforest today. Tell me more about that project. And then Seesaw for remote learning is amazing because teachers can assign and manage student work. Students can complete everything just in one space. And then the family app still allows parents to ask questions with the teachers. So there's that dialogue going back and forth as well.
And then just to make sure too that families know that if they're going to be connecting that they're using, there's two separate apps. So there's the family app that the families would use, and then there's the class app that the teachers and the students would be using. And then, so here is kind of a little example. It allows students to focus on, it allows the families to focus on your students and allows you to focus on your students. So it helps you see, it helps you hear what your students know, what they're thinking, what their understanding is, the process that they're going through. It's more than just getting work back from them. You can put so many different things together. You can see their work, you can hear them talk about it, you can hear their thinking. There's so many different ways that you can kind of put the different ways that they can show their learning into one place. So it's really powerful.
And then there's also a part of Seesaw where it's called an activity library. And this is great for teachers because you don't have to recreate the wheel. You can use something that someone's already done, and you also have the option of tweaking it and kind of making it your own. So instead of starting from scratch, this is a great place to start because you'll be able to become more familiar with the product. And all of the tools are really straightforward and easy. Nothing's hidden. You don't have to click a bunch of buttons to figure out where everything is. Everything's right there and streamlined.
So if we're looking at ways that we can use Seesaw and some of the benefits of it, so it's amazing for creative tools on a Chromebook. So it allows a full screen canvas. It allows you to annotate. It allows students to keyboard. It allows them to share work from, if they're using Google Classroom, they can share it directly into Seesaw, into their portfolio. It is, like we said, it's kind of like a portfolio where they can capture all their work throughout the year. And then it gives teachers a great insight. So it shows, it can, like I said before, they can be annotating something, they can be voiceover while they're annotating. So it really is quite powerful and allows you to really dive into how they're thinking and how they're understanding the work. And then just that family engagement connection, the fact that families can connect with students on Seesaw and they can see their work and they can see how they're doing and they can have those conversations with them is quite powerful.
And so to set up your account, we included a video for this. We're not going to show the video, but just if you needed the video for that purpose, to set up your account, we have it here. But in order to set up your account, you would go to app.seesaw.me, or you could just go to the Seesaw app and you could click that you're a teacher and you would create your account. You would sign in with your Google turlockusd.org email address, and then you would create a class. You would name your class. So for example, mine could be Mrs. Ali period 1, and then I could create another classroom for period 2. Or if I'm an elementary teacher, you could name your class whatever it is that you and your students call your class together. And then step 5 is you click the green check button and you have now created your account along with your class.
And so here's a little like cheat sheet that you can go through to create your account. So, like we said, clicking I'm a teacher, create an account, fill in the information, or use Google to create your account, like we said, and then put in your classes first, put the name of your first class in there. And then you can now go through and you can create additional classes by clicking on your profile icon, which is in the top left, and then you would go to create new class. So if you are a secondary teacher, you can have a class for each period. Elementary teacher, you can have one class for the whole day, or if you wanted to break it up into subjects or something, you could do that as well.
And then Seesaw Free for Seesaw or Seesaw Plus, you can decide how you want your students to sign in. You can give them either a class code. You can download these home learning codes through your account, and you can give your students these class codes, or you can just have them sign in with their email address and their password. So you can have them just use their normal Google login. So there's two different ways that you can have students actually sign into your class.
And then in here too, we're going to get into this a little later, but in like step 1, it says turn off students can see each other's work in class settings to comply with privacy laws. So this is a setting that you can have. So you can have it where, depending on how you're using Seesaw, you can have it where everybody sees everyone's work, or you can have it individualized where it's just between you and the student, so nobody else sees anybody else's work. So it just depends on how you're using Seesaw and how you're going to be using student work and whatnot. But we're going to go into show you how you can set that up. So if you wanted to, after you created your class and you wanted to now add your students, so there's a few things that you would have to do. So in the bottom right, there's going to be a plus sign where you can, it's going to have a plus sign and it's going to say students. So from there, you can add your students. If you're using the home learning code, you would choose no when asking if students are going to be using an email address to sign in. Then you would want to choose either shared or one-to-one devices. We are one-to-one, so you can choose one-to-one devices, but they have that option because there are some schools that they might be sharing Chromebooks in a classroom. And then you would enter each student's name or paste a list of names that you have. You might have something typed up already that you have everyone's names. And then you just tap the green check button and your students are in there and they're ready to go.
And so here's just like a cheat sheet just to help you get through exactly what Marshall had explained with adding your students to your class. So you click the plus students button, and then you decide how you want them to sign in, whether it's the email or the class code. And if students will sign in with the email, you just follow the directions that you are prompted to give them a one-time join code. And then if students will sign in with the class code, then you just want to follow the prompts to choose to set up the device and enter the student's name. And you can also change the sign-in mode and edit the students by visiting the class settings section within your account.
So this would be an example of the teacher side of a Seesaw class. So this is one that I made up. And it's nice because they, once you make a class, they always throw a sample student in there for you so you can kind of see what it's going to look like when you have students in there. So if I'm wanting to change it where students cannot see each other's work, I'm going to click on the little settings icon, which is different. It looks like a wrench. It's not the normal like settings cog that we're used to. And then after I click on that, I'm going to get a class settings window that pops up. And if I scroll down a little bit underneath students, I'm going to have where I can choose how they sign in. So this one would be email or Google, but if I wanted to change it to my class code, I could do that. If I wanted to manage students, I could do that. If I wanted to get them that home learning code, I could do that. And then where I have highlighted in red here is if I want students to be able to see each other's work. So if I'm using, depending on how I'm using Seesaw, if I want them to be able to see each other's work, I would leave that checked green. But if I wanted it to be a little bit more personal and a little more private and it's just between the student and I would want to check that off and make it where it's grayed out so they cannot see each other's work. And then at the bottom there, you would see that you can enable family access and stuff. So you want to make sure that you check out that wrench to see all the classroom settings and things that you can enable and disable within Seesaw.
All right, now we're going to get into how Seesaw actually works. And we're going to dive into what you can do with it and some of the other buttons within it.
Okay, so first thing is you would approve students' work when they're adding stuff to Seesaw. So when students add work to Seesaw, it always comes to us as the teachers first for our approval, unless this is something that you disable in the settings. So first thing that you would do is on the red bar at the bottom of your screen, you're going to tap review. You're going to see that that the student's work is there. And then it's a simple green check mark. Yes, you approve it. Red trash can. No, you don't approve it. So you can go through, approve individual ones, or there's an approve all that you can just approve all the work that was submitted.
And then you yourself can actually post, and your students also post, and it's all with the green button. So you can add different work, and just by clicking the green button, you can use learning tools to create a post. And you can then, once you create a post, you'll just click the green check mark, and you'll actually add the post into your Seesaw class. And this is really, really great because what you're doing is you're creating just a class portfolio. So your students are taking pictures of what they're doing every day throughout the day. And you can trash can it if they took a picture of something prematurely, or they took a picture of something and it wasn't quite right. And then so you can go and you can give them feedback, they can improve, they can take a picture on it. So then your students are able to see all of their work throughout the year. Parents can also see that. And then at the end of the year, your students can reflect, and they can be like, and you can have them take a picture of their writing piece from the first day of class, and then look at their writing piece from the last day of class, and they can compare, like, look at how much I have improved myself. Because a lot of our students, they need to see visually that they have learned something, because they always tell us, oh, I didn't learn anything all day, even though we just taught them something. So it's really that awesome way for them to visually see what they have learned throughout the year, and also to get the parents involved and to get you involved as well. And so Seesaw allows so many different options to get that learning going.
Okay, so then creating activities within Seesaw. So, like we said, everything's going to center around that green button. So, you're going to choose the green button and you're going to choose assign activity. And then after that, you'll be in the My Library section. And then you can choose to create a new activity. Then you can enter the title, enter the directions, add multimedia instructions or examples if you want to, add a template. There's lots of things that you can add there. Then you would click save. And then after you do that, you'll be back in the My Library section. Then you can choose to assign it. You can choose to assign it to your whole class. You can choose to assign it to a specific student or specific groups of students. And then you would just click assign, and then it goes out to either the whole class or it goes out to those specific students.
There's a lot of different icons that Seesaw uses. When you hover over the icon, it'll also say what it is. But if you just wanted a nice shortcut list, if you click the link where it says just like here, it'll take you to a page where it explains all of the shortcuts. So like Marshall had said in the beginning, the wrench sign is actually their settings instead of what we're used to of the settings cog. But the picture of a mountain would be going to the camera, or the picture of the paper clips is a link. So they use a few different pictures than what we're used to, or some of them are even the same. But it's just a good idea to at least save this and have this around, just in case you come up to an icon and you have no idea what it is before you click it.
Okay, so Seesaw also created a map for ready to use Seesaw activities for home learning, organized by grade level and subject. So if you click the Find It Here section, it's going to take you to that where everything is already ready to go, organized by grade level and subject. So all you'd have to do is find what you wanted, add it to your library, and then you can assign it to your kids. So this is, like we said in the beginning, this is a great way to start with Seesaw using their pre-made activities and their pre-made lessons, so you don't have to go through and reinvent the wheel and try to figure out how some of the tools work. They have activities and lessons that are already made, and you can see what is capable and what is able and what you're able to do within Seesaw.
This page just goes over if you want more trainings from Seesaw. If you've already been using Seesaw and you want to go more into it, Seesaw has amazing videos and different PDFs with all the information that you could need. And their videos are very short. They're anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. So if there's one thing that you wanted to learn, you can watch a less than 5-minute video, understand it, and then you can try it out. So there's Seesaw 2.0 slides for if you want to go more advanced. There's also an activity or slides for walking you through creating your first activity step by step. And they also have professional development. Seesaw is one of the sites that I remember seeing, because I saw this last week, where you can actually interact with a live person from Seesaw and you can ask them questions. You can be in a training and do something just like this, like we're doing right now, but with someone from Seesaw. So if there's a question or something you don't know, you can just go right to them and participate in one of their trainings, or just email and talk to them. And it's really, really nice that they have those people available.
Mhm. Okay, so this is what the students would see from their end. So if they were going to add something to their journal. So their Seesaw is broken up into a couple of sections. So they have their journal where they can just be adding content, adding material there. If they wanted to track their reading, track their writing, those types of things, they can add it there. And then under the activities tab where there's a little red one, that's where when we assign lessons, that's where they go. So if they wanted to just add something to their journal, they would click that green plus sign, and then they would be given these options. So they can take a photo of something, they can shoot a video of something, they can add a drawing, they can add a file from their drive. So if they had an article maybe that you gave them in PDF form and they saved it to their drive, they could upload it here, and then now they can annotate and they can voice over and do those types of things with it. They can jot down some notes. So if they wanted to do like daily journaling, they could add some notes. Or if they wanted to put a link to something that they did within their drive or something, they could add that here as well. And then this is what we would see on the teacher end. So I would click that green plus and I would get, I could browse the activity library where there's all those pre-made lessons. I can create or share an activity. I can post to a student's journal, or I can send out an announcement. So if I were to click on the browse activity library, this is what I'm greeted with. So I'm in the activity library. So now I can go through and I can filter through and I can select a specific grade level. I can select a specific subject, and there's teachers who have posted activities already in there. So like we said before, this is a great way to start off with Seesaw. If you're not sure how you might want to use it or what some of the tools are, this is a great way to kind of get your feet wet with it. I know this is how I started with it. I just went through the activity library and I just found a bunch of things that I liked, and I just saw the different ways that people were using different tools, and there's things that I was like, oh wow, I didn't even think of using it that way. So this is a great way to start using Seesaw.
And then if you wanted more Seesaw resources, you can visit any one of these links or the links before that we had showed with the professional development via Seesaw or Seesaw 2.0. They have amazing teacher resources, and then also just an article for getting started. So if you have any questions, you can of course come to Marshall or you can click one of the resources from Seesaw and go ahead and just start going through it.
Okay, so now we're going to switch gears a little bit and we're going to dive into Adobe Spark. So, Adobe Spark is a cool tool. It allows you to create flyers, posters, web pages, videos, and stuff like that. So, it's a cool, nifty little tool that you and your students could use.
So this right here just shows you once you get into your account, you can start scrolling and you can see that there's a lot of different options of materials that you could create. So you could scroll through different popular templates, or you could scroll through and you can create your own. You can create videos with voiceovers. You can create different website pages. You can create posters, but not just posters, but flyers or different posts. And our students now are in this social media time where they would love to, create an Instagram post and but make it all about the water cycle or make it all about this vocab word or choose one of these different options. So you're giving the students choice just by using Adobe Spark, but they're also being able to use their creativity as well.
And the nice thing with this too is and we're going to show you guys how to log in a minute here, but because we have a site and like a district school license, when they're creating posts and they're creating web pages and stuff like that, it doesn't go outside of our domain. So only people with the Turlock USD email address and those accounts are the people who can actually see it. They can't share it outside. They can't share it to their personal account or anything like that. So it's kind of locked down in a sense, but in a good way, where they're creating stuff and you don't have to worry about randos being able to see the things that they. Sorry, I couldn't think of a better way to say it, but um, they're protected when they're creating things within Adobe Spark.
All right, so if we were just going through the steps of how to log in, the first thing that you would do is you would have the students go to spark.adobe.com and then they would click sign in. Now, here's where it gets a little tricky. After they click sign in, you will choose to log in with a school account, and then you'll have them click the Google sign in. And then they have to click sign in with the enterprise ID, because under enterprise ID, it'll say log in with the school account. So if we just follow the little GIF that's created, they go to sign in, and then they hit login with a school account, which would be on the right-hand side. And then they would hit login with Google. And then they would, once it loads, hit enterprise ID. So there's a few extra steps here, but this is what actually gets you into our district license page, where you actually have a lot more options
Mhm.
within our district versus if you had your own personal account and you were trying to work on some Adobe products.
Yeah, so like Sitar said, this is doing it this way gets you more features, gets you more templates, things like that. But it also is what provides that security of making sure that things are staying within our school account and our school domain and stuff. So then once they log in, here are some options of things that they can create. So they can create a collage, they can create a web page, they can create a slideshow, they can create a presentation, they can create like the template of an Instagram post, they can create a portfolio. And I have some examples of some things that I created, and I made a page, a video, and a post, and it didn't take me very long to create those things. The templates are really easy to use, and you click on things and it asks you, do you want to add text, do you want to add an image, and then they can sort through and they can search for free images. Adobe provides a bunch of free images that they can use, and then they can just go through and within 10-15 minutes they've created a web page or they've created a really nice presentation, and it's really easy to use, but it looks so professional, and they're going to be so pumped and so proud of the things that they're able to create with something as simple as Adobe Spark.
So this page is what it looks like if you were to create a video. So this is just a screenshot that I did where nothing was created, and this is just starting from a blank template. So I clicked on a plus button and it gave me an option. Do I want video, text, photo, or do I want to put in an icon? And then there was a microphone button where I could do a voiceover on the video. I could change what the screen looked like by clicking on the left if I wanted it to be full screen, or I chose split screen, or maybe I wanted a caption or a title and a text. But it tells me that if I'm creating a video, on the bottom it says, well, you should have the overview here, and then the next slide should be about your concept, and then you want to talk about an example, and then you want to explain. So Adobe Spark kind of walks the students through the different steps within the video. So you could have them, if you're doing a lesson in ELA all about comedy, they could walk through this on comedy, or maybe they're explaining how a cell works in science, or maybe they're talking about force, mass, and acceleration in science. And so they could just go through these different steps and create an amazing product. I was super excited when I was using it because it looked like I was a professional and then I knew what I was doing, but I just used a template and just replaced their pictures with my pictures. So it was really, really great.
And then here's an example of creating a post or creating a flyer. Again, these are just straight templates, and they can go in, they can find a template, they can change the font, they can change the background, they can add pictures, they can really customize it to make it their own. But then they can use the templates to kind of give them a framework of how it should be kind of set up, and it really just, like we said before, it's really easy to use, but then at the end you feel like, wow, I feel like a professional and I like made something that's, you know, people might think is taking me hours to do, but I'm just using a template and I'm just plugging in the information that I want to use.
The one thing with Adobe Spark is you'll see a button that says that you can share it and so you can add a collaborator. But Marshall and I found out that you can only edit the project one person at a time. So I was in his project because he invited me to it. So I opened it up. And then he sent me this picture because he couldn't get into his project that he created because I was in it. So that is definitely one thing to notice, that yes, you can use it as a collaboration tool, but not really, because it has some restrictions that you can only have one person editing it at a time.
So then how students would turn in their work. So they can make something in Adobe Spark and they can turn it into you if you're using something like Google Classroom, or we just talked about using Seesaw, they can turn it in there as well. So they would have to copy the link to their project and paste that link into Google Classroom, or they can download. So if they made a flyer, they could download it and then they could upload that to their Google Classroom. So when they are in Adobe and they're in Spark, in the top right, they're going to see this share button. And when they share it, they can then get the link and then they could post that link into Google Classroom. Or if they just wanted to download it, they could download it. And then when they're in Google Classroom, on the right hand side, they're going to have this button here that we're showing where it says add or create, and they could add from their drive, which is the where the flyer or the video or whatever that they made would be there, and then they could upload it to Google Classroom, and they could turn it into you that way through something like Google Classroom or something like Seesaw, which we just covered.
And then if you just wanted any other resources from Adobe Spark, we included this link, which would take you to another page from Adobe Spark that would give you a ton of resources. And then there is a bit.ly link on the bottom of this page that would link you to just another presentation that Marshall and I did during ETC this past February. So if you wanted to just look at that presentation, it's all about amplifying student voice and choice. It goes over Adobe Spark as well, along with Screencastify, Flipgrid, and Seesaw. So it's just another option of just more resources to go to.
And so this is the end of our session today. We want to thank you guys for joining us today. We're going to be back tomorrow, and we're going to be talking about Google Meet. Hopefully everyone saw the email that I sent out yesterday. Google Meet is now enabled in our district. And so we're going to kind of talk about that and talk about how we can use it with our students. So that'll be tomorrow at 10. And then the Q&A session will follow directly afterwards. And then also, hopefully everyone saw the email this morning. Our schedule changed a little bit this week. So this week we are actually going Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then next week we are going to be holding PDs every day next week. So Monday through Friday, we're going to have stuff for you guys. So make sure you check out the schedule so to see what we are going to be covering. And yeah, so we just want to thank you guys for joining us today, and we will catch you guys later.
Yes, thank you all.